Hey everybody, welcome to Q&A video number 18. Make sure to keep asking questions, doesn't matter if they're about, they can be about anything. And I'm noticing since I've adopted the 5-question thing that I'm going to be doing a lot more Q&As this time, so that's good. But just don't be surprised if it takes me a couple of Q&A videos to get to your questions, so sorry if that happens, but that's just the way it goes. And do note, I do not respond to LP requests or playthrough requests or review requests in these videos. I respond to them in the comments, but not in the videos. And generally, it means I'll add it to the list. And if you want to know about a specific feature, what I think about that, then feel free to ask. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with a question from Trusteft. Do you play or have you ever played wargames? For example, Norm Koger's games, or winSPMBT, which is Steel Panther's main battle tank, etc. Have you played subsims like the Silent Service series or the 688i and its sequels, etc.? As far as subsims go, I've played a little bit of Silent Hunter just to make sure it worked. I really haven't gotten into it. I'm not a big fan of simulators, actually, just in general, not just sub-sims, but also flight sims. I'm not a huge fan of those either. So, it may take me a while to get to that, but I have played a little bit of Silent Hunter. As for war games like Steel Panthers and all that, no, I haven't played that. Any of them, really. I just never got into the genre. I don't really know why, I just never did, mostly because I guess that a lot of them are World War II, and I'm just so sick of World War II games that only a very select few actually make it through my, I guess, shield against World War II games. But really, I don't know why I haven't gotten into that genre. If you can recommend some really good war games for me, then feel free, because I don't really know anything about the genre. Next one is from TheJerkinGherkin. Interesting name. What do you think about all these role-playing games, for example, Mass Effect, Fable, Dragon Age, Fallout, etc., including sex as part of their gameplay or storyline? Do you think it's an aspect that creates more game depth, or is it something that's just supposed to appeal to sexually repressed teenagers? That one's kind of an interesting question. I'm kind of surprised somebody asked me about that. Because if you use sex properly in any medium, whether it's games, film, novels, or any written work, of course, or even music, if you use it properly, then you're going to achieve a certain effect that is desirable. In Mass Effect and Dragon Age, for instance, the sex is included as part of the progression of relationships for the most part. I mean, it is here and there in other aspects as well. But for the most part, in these games, it's just part of relationships, and that's a natural part of our existence. I mean, if you are in a committed relationship with someone, you might end up having sex with them, and that's just what they do in this. And in that particular instance, it's perfectly fine. And they do it very tastefully and all that, and make sure it's not just this tacky sex scene just to have a sex scene in there. Although for some characters it's a little bit odd, but anyway. But BioWare has done a good job with that so far. Whereas if you talk about Fable, for instance, where it's just this stupid thing to really garner laughs more than anything else, and it really doesn't even garner laughs, it's not funny. It's just stupid. If you do it like that, where it's just basically your character can end up having sex with pretty much everybody on the face of the planet, then it's just wrong. It doesn't work. It ends up being a stupid game mechanic more than anything else that's really just there to have it in there. Fallout was an interesting case because you could actually basically become a prostitute if you wanted to. You could do that in Arcanum, by the way, as well, if you really want to. Whereas that's sort of silly, but at the same time it's not. It's just a choice you can make. And it's interesting the way different games have put it in there. But like I said, if you use it right, then it's going to achieve a desirable effect. But if you're using it wrongly, like you do with Fable, then it just comes across as stupid. Next one is from MrSharpShape. Terminator, what are some of your favorite hobbies outside of gaming? Even though I suck at it, I like to draw. It's relaxing to me. I think I've gone over this before, actually, but oh well. Obviously, I like listening to music, tabletop role-playing games, stuff like D&D, board games as well, though I don't get much of a chance to play those anymore. I like just reading different things. A lot of like Tom Clancy novels, for instance. I like reading those, and just in general, all that kind of stuff. But anymore, I find myself doing mostly gaming because that's I kind of have to budget my time, and in a lot of cases I don't really have a lot of time to really get invested in a novel anymore, so gaming's kind of the next best thing. Next one is from MJ1284. In your opinion, what is the biggest reason people pirate games, music, movies, etc.? Do you think developers are encouraging people to pirate by not publishing playable demos, only CGI trailers? That's kind of a double-edged sword. I think what's ending up happening is that people who are just cheapskates and don't feel like paying for things are just going to pirate no matter what happens. I mean, that's always been that way. It's always going to happen no matter what happens. But there are some people who actually pirate games in order to just try them out, see if they work, see if they like it, and if they don't like it, then they just delete it. If they do like it, then they'll actually buy a copy of the game. And that's mostly because there aren't playable demos for a lot of games these days. If they released a lot more of those, then I'm sure that would kind of alleviate the problem a bit. It wouldn't go away, though. Main reason is just it's cheap, as in it's free. They can get away with it. So that's really the only main reason people do it. It's just because they can, not because of some other outlying reason for the most part. Are they encouraging it? It does depend on the game too. A lot of developers are actually being smart these days and releasing more demos. Unfortunately, they're not releasing demos for PC, so you're seeing piracy go even higher on PC because of that. But that's the way things go, I guess. Next one is from Spastic Gamer. Will you be buying the new Counter-Strike when it's released? That's Global Offensive. If so, what are your expectations from the footage, and do you think it will ever become as popular as its older brother games like CS 1.6 and Source? Nope. Just not buying it on release. I'm going to wait for it to drop in price considerably, probably through a sale of some sort, because I didn't particularly like Counter-Strike Source all that much. I mean, it wasn't a bad game, don't get me wrong. It's just it got really boring really quickly because you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And Global Offensive looks to be pretty much Counter-Strike Source, only with a slightly retooled interface and a couple of changed weapons. That's kind of it. The problem with Counter-Strike is that it has not evolved past 1.6. That is technically the best game in the series. And it hasn't evolved past that. It hasn't changed mostly for the better since then. It's just minor tweaks here and there that they think warranted full release of the game, and it just doesn't come out all that well. My expectations from Global Offensive, though, are that it's going to be pretty much the exact same thing we've seen before. It's going to be Counter-Strike Source, only with different graphics and a different interface. That's kind of about it. And that whole cross-platform play is going to just completely break, I'm sure. If they do PS3 and PC and Mac, then the PS3 players are just going to get their arses handed to them. It's going to be a mess. Anyway, that was Q&A 18, so like I said, make sure to keep asking questions, and I will catch you guys in later videos.